I am asked questions about Mexico on a regular basis, and there are a few things that I have found that people have not learned about in school here, and that I think are important for you to know. First off, Mexico is a democracy. Mexico has presidents that are elected that serve 6-year terms. They are not allowed to serve a second term. And there's a Congress, there's a Supreme Court, and there are actually 31 states in Mexico. The official name is Los Estados Unidos de Mexico, which is the United States of Mexico. And actually much of the formation of Mexico as a democracy was based on the model of the United States. Another area that people don't seem to understand about Mexico is there's a big there are a lot of misconceptions about what is legal and what is not, what is available and what is not in Mexico. For example, many people here seem to think that prostitution is legal in Mexico. It is not legal in Mexico. While it might be legal in some countries in Europe, it has not been legalized in Mexico at this point in time. There might be police who help protect prostitutes. There might be police who take kickbacks from prostitutes, but it is not legal in Mexico. There's also a vision, especially in the movies in the United States, that in Mexico everybody has guns and there's all kinds of guns and everybody works with the narcos and that type of thing, which is a complete myth. I actually grew up being very opposed to the NRA and thinking that we had too many liberties in the United States with regards to guns. But when I moved to Mexico, where the average person has no access to guns, no ability to have guns, the only people who do have guns are the police and the federales, who are the equivalent of our FBI and the military. I began to see some of the reasons why it would be important for people in a country to have the right to bear arms and to have the right to defend themselves, especially when you have a police force or a military or a federal police group that are corrupt. Because people don't have the same opportunity to protect themselves, and there is more impunity on the part of the police. It is virtually impossible to attain a weapon in Mexico unless you have a connection with a police officer or with the military. And before you start thinking about, well, what about all the narcotraficantes and the drug dealers, remember that most of them are tied in with the military and with the federales and with the police, and that has been one of the biggest problems in fighting the war on drugs in Mexico. There's a conception also here that that all Mexicans are the same, and that everybody's cut from the same mold. That is no more true than it's true that people in the United States are all the same and cut from the same mold. I'm sure that you know people with different political views, different religious views, who come from different racial backgrounds, and different types of families with different types of beliefs. And the same is true in Mexico. In Mexico there is racial tension, specifically between indigenous groups and the mestizo majority. Mestizo means a mixture of races, generally referring to European and indigenous groups that mixed at the beginning of the conquest. However, in Mexico it has a slightly different flavor that tends more towards classism. And what you'll find in Mexico is that somebody can be very dark-skinned, and somebody can look very indigenous. But if there's somebody who's dressed in a nice suit, somebody still might call that same person güero, which is the equivalent of blondie, because many of the racial stereotypes are tied very much to class issues. And so while in the United States, even if somebody's well-dressed and they're African-American, people are going to refer to them as African-American. In Mexico, regardless of someone's skin color and regardless of their physical appearance, The way that they are dressed will often be tied to the names that they are called, whether they are called India, which is very derogative, or whether they are called Güero, which is usually considered to be a compliment.